Good morning, Mr. Narayana Murthy, Namabajat and Sri Wahid Omar, Chairman of the Economic Club of Kuala Lumpur Advisory Council and Chairman of Bursa Malaysia, Tan Sri Majid Khan, Dr. Vasiha, Dr. Wei, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to see a few ambassadors still here with us after the opening session, and it's an honor and delight for us to have here a global icon in the technology industry, Mr. Narayana Murthy, who has flown in all the way from India yesterday morning to be at today's conference, and he flies out again tomorrow to Bangkok and then back to India. So it's a great honor for us to have Mr. Murthy to be with us here to share his insights and his thoughts. Let me, before starting the dialogue and conversations with Mr. Murthy, just highlight some key essentials of his very illustrious background. Mr. Narayana Murthy founded Infosys back in 1981. Today, Infosys is a highly innovative software solution global company listed on the New York Stock Exchange and the Mumbai Stock Exchange. It has US $16 billion in revenue and about US $75 billion in market capitalization as of June 10, 2022. So we are talking to a global giant. Mr. Murthy conceptualized, articulated, and implemented the global delivery model, which has become the backbone of the Indian software industry. Many regard him as a father of the software industry in India. Mr. Murthy was ranked 12th among the 25 global business leaders and among the 12 great entrepreneurs of our time by Fortune magazine. He has also been ranked among the top 10 of the London Financial Times list of business pioneers in technology. Mr. Murthy, apart from his leadership in global IT technology, also serves on the boards of the Institute of Advanced Study of Princeton in New Jersey. He serves on the United Nations Foundation and the boards of Ford Foundation in New York, HSBC, and Unilever in London. His connection with Malaysia went back many years ago when he was a member of the International Advisory Panel of our multimedia super corridor for many years. Mr. Murthy has also served on the boards of various well-known universities in the US, like Cornell University, the Wharton School, the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University, and the Rhodes Trust at Oxford. He was chairman of the Indian Institute of Management, the #1 business school in India. But more importantly, to me, Mr. Murthy epitomizes humility and integrity, two values which I know of for many, many years. So it's indeed a very great honor for us to have with us Mr. Murthy to share his thoughts and his insights. Welcome to Malaysia, Mr. Murthy. So glad that you are here with us again.
Thank you, Tan Sri. I think it is an absolute pleasure and a privilege. Tan Sri Michael Yeoh is a very popular and a very wise man throughout Asia. I happened to serve with him on one of the such committees, and we all listen to him with care, because when he says something, it has a lot of meaning. So therefore, when he invited me, there was no way I could have missed it. So I'm glad I'm here, thanks to his kindness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murthy, for your kind words. As Mr. Murthy said, we both sit on the Executive Council of the UN SCAP's Sustainable Business Network. We were invited by the UN SCAP Executive Secretary to be among 17 members of this Executive Council in the UN SCAP network. Mr. Murthy, perhaps I may like to start this conversation by asking you, what do you think are the major digital challenges facing Asia and the world, and perhaps also for India?
Well, before I get to the challenges, I want to talk a little bit about the good things that have happened in digitalization in India. Well, digitalization is all about bringing the power of web as a human-machine interaction interface, leveraging cloud computing for both computing power and for databases, and using the power of 5G, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics, and in some cases, Internet of Things, IoT. Now, India has done two very important initiatives. The Indian government has done two very important initiatives that I feel has brought digitalization to the help of everybody in general, but to the poor in particular. First is what was taken up by my younger colleague, Sri Nandan Nilekani, when he was the chairman of the Unique ID Authority of India, of introducing a unique ID for every Indian. Now, this has enabled financial inclusion, direct benefit transfer, that is subsidy given to the poor people, elections, free health care, many areas. Parallelly, the private sector has done a pretty good job, like your country has done, in bringing the power of digital commerce in retailing, in groceries, in restaurants, in hotels, in insurance, in finance, you name it, almost in every area, online transactions can be conducted sitting wherever you are at home or whatever it is. No, but there is something new that will happen pretty soon in India, of which I'm very happy. And that is what is called ONDC. That is Open Network for Digital Commerce. What the government did was they observed the online or the e-commerce facilities of companies like Amazon and Flipkart and others. And they said, look, this kind of digital infrastructure is very expensive for small traders to create. Therefore, we will put in money and we will create an open network for digital commerce. It has various modules, the recommendation module, the purchasing module, the payment gateway, you name it, all the modules of what you see on an Amazon, etc. is done. What this means is, any small trader can use ONDC, the power of ONDC, and set up shop and operate like Amazon and pay per use. The beauty of this model is it has transformed a huge fixed cost, which only big companies could afford, into a revenue expense or a variable expense or a small pay-per-use thing. I think that will be ready probably in another 6 months. And that's going to bring the power of digital commerce to every mom-and-pop store if they want. Now, having talked about this, now let me come to the challenges. I think they're very important. The biggest challenge that societies face, including India, is not just installing the latest online e-commerce and e-governance systems. What these systems do is to improve the response time to the users of the system. They provide a anytime, anywhere facility for users to use the e-governance as well as the e-commerce facility. They introduced death of distance. However, unless we change the culture of the country in terms of its work ethic, in terms of response to citizens, our governments will not be able to utilize the power of these technologies. So the biggest challenge, not just India, I think any country in the world has, is how do we keep pace with the speed of an online system. We may not be able to do it as fast as an online system. However, we have to enhance the speed and we have to reduce friction for our citizens. That is the first big challenge. The second big challenge that India and all other countries face, when you bring such large digitalizations, is loss of jobs, particularly for the poor. Now, that is where I believe that the governments will have to think very carefully about creating alternate opportunities. The governments will have to encourage companies to scale up their operations, like it happened when ATMs were introduced and bank computerization was introduced in the UK in the early 70s. and in other countries, including India. What has happened with bank computerization is the banking has exploded. So similarly, I think there has to be some thinking done to create alternate opportunities or bigger opportunities for people who may lose jobs in certain areas of corporate activity. The third challenge that a country like India or any other country, Malaysia, faces is how do we provide the privacy and security for the data of individuals? That could be financial data, it could be health data, it could be any one of those. Now, what this means is, unfortunately, if there is a petty bureaucrat who is in charge of such large databases, were to compromise the confidentiality of the data because of some dishonesty, then people will lose trust in the data and they will not allow it to be used. So therefore, it is extremely important that not only should individuals who are manning these databases improve in their work ethic, improve in their response times, improve in their courtesy and all of that, they should also be very honest in protecting the data. The fourth challenge that we have, both in India and elsewhere, is cybersecurity. Because there are so many databases in India and in Malaysia too, there are both domestic and foreign cyber truants operating all the time trying to get access to and corrupt those databases. For example, about 10 years ago, on a given day, in my own company, Infosys, we had 2,500 cyber attacks on the gateway in one of the developed nations down under to get into Infosys, because we have access to the programs of probably 1,000 very large companies in the West and in India and in Asia. So as we keep producing better and better solutions for cybersecurity, we find that the cyber terrorists or thieves, they are trying to be a step ahead of us. So this is a never-ending game. That is where I think this is a big challenge. Then there is the issue of digital divide. While urban and semi-urban India has managed reasonably well to provide these digitalization facilities and for people to access these, it's not the same in rural India. So thereby, rural India in some sense gets left behind. Therefore, The country has to create a very robust digital infrastructure in all parts of the country, urban and the rural, for the educated and the not so well educated, for the rich and the poor, etc. Then we have to reduce the prices of smartphones and POS terminals, etc., for people and small traders to be using these facilities. So I think there are many, many challenges, but this is what every country has faced, will face, whether it's Malaysia or India or any country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy, for taking us through your journey of the major challenges that we would face. The next question that I would like to bring to you and to get your thoughts, your insights, is now the world is getting so excited about the metaverse, especially among the younger generation. How do you see the future of the metaverse? And do you see the metaverse changing the way we do things, the way we entertain, the way we see things? And then what do you think are some of the major impact of this so-called world of the metaverse?
Thank you. Let me say a few sentences about what metaverse is. Most of you probably know, but for the sake of the very few who may not know, metaverse is the name given to a network of 3D virtual worlds which use the power of virtual reality and augmented reality. Now, this concept of metaverse was actually introduced long time ago, 30 years ago, in 1992, by a Britisher called Neil Stephenson. The beauty of metaverse is it allows each individual participant in a meeting or conference to create his or her own 3D virtual world. They could use their own avatars. It could be holograms. It could be some gaming interface. It could be an AI augmented interface, etc., etc. The advantage of this is, as all of you know, that today we have all tired of the two-day interface of a wonderful tool like Zoom. I mean, I've done hundreds of these Zoom calls. If you use it for more than an hour, hour and a half, it becomes boring. So many people said, how do we spice it up so that the interaction between people is a little bit more exciting? That's one. I know, for example, there is an Indian company called Next Meet. There is a British company called Pixel Max. These two companies are trying to bring the power of metaverse using augmented reality to make virtual conferences much more exciting. The other area where metaverse will be useful is in surgery. For example, by using the 3D capability, by using the augmented reality capability of the patient, the doctor who is operating on a remote basis would be in a position to have a much clearer idea of the body of the patient. It is almost like, for example, one of my friends is an ophthalmic surgeon, and he introduced the latest called Z's microscope, using which he does all this retinal detachment and all of that. Now he tells me that with that called Z's microscope, he can get a much better picture of the eye of the patient. Similarly, I believe that metaverse is going to help surgeons. Gaming, of course. Metaverse will take the gaming to the next level. Already gaming is pretty good, but it will take to the next thing. Fourth, when you use artificial intelligence and you train avatar to listen to what the other parties are saying and document the major points, or perhaps ask some meaningful questions, by designing a good expert system, we may come to a point where we will have Michael participating simultaneously, Michael, of course, and his avatars, participating simultaneously in 3 conferences. Here, and one in Hong Kong, and one in Bangkok, one in Delhi. Because you would have trained those avatars to be a less efficient replica of him. So I think in manufacturing, the augmented reality that metaverse, the 3D world that metaverse will bring in, is going to help in precision manufacturing. It will improve productivity. So therefore, Michael, I believe that this technology of metaverse, even though it is not become as popular as you would like it to be today, in the coming years, it will become all-pervasive. It will cover, it will take the help of cloud computing, 5G. 5G is a must for all of this because you are transmitting so much of data from place A to place B, right? Then cloud computing, then AI, big data analytics, etc., etc. All these will come together, and metaverse will become very, very strong, and it will create a network of 3D virtual worlds.
Wow, that's what the future is going to be for us. Thank you, Mr. Murthy, for taking us on this very, very exciting journey forward into peeping at how metaverse will impact on our lives and our work in our society. That was a great, great story that you have shared. I'd like now to bring you to another rather basic question, perhaps. What do you see as the next big thing in digital technology? And how do you see that being used in our lives, in business, in work, in education, and in our society?
Well, we have, in the last 30 years, the world has seen tremendous advances in technology. If you compare it with what happened between 1952 and 1992, in other words, 40 years period, what we have achieved in the last 30 years, 1992 to 2022, unbelievable. You have cloud computing, which has converted the fixed costs of large investments into pay-per-use model. In other words, small enterprises can use cloud computing for their work. You have 5G, which has raised the bandwidth tremendously so that you can do virtual reality, augmented reality, metaverse, and all of that. You have AI, which has made tremendous advances in mimicking the judgment of human mind. Whether it is the driverless car, whether it is an expert system diagnosing a patient, whether it's a recommendation engine that you all use with Amazon and others, all these things have been possible because of AI. Then big data is something that has given you the ability to run multiple regressions using a large number of variables. And that's what has led to machine learning and deep learning. Genomics has brought so much of advances. About 15, 20 years ago, I was chosen from India for, Philips was producing the DVD of my genomic sequence, and it was a huge database. I think it was somewhere a few gigabytes. And they gave it to me saying, this is your stuff. This is your genomic sequence. But today, the medical science has advanced so much on genomics, it can predict who is likely to, get cancer in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, many, many things. So the point I'm making is, in the last 30 years, all these things have happened. Now, coming to your question, which are the most exciting technologies that will impact our lives? First, of course, is digital commerce. I say digital commerce because even though a large percentage of Malaysians, Indians, Chinese, they're all using digital commerce. However, the poor people have still not been able to access it as much as you and I would like. But in the years to come, thanks to 5G, thanks to reduction of prices of cloud computing, all of that, digital commerce and digital governance will become all pervasive. They will bring the power of digital commerce to everybody. That's one. The second thing is quantum computing. See, in the current computing that we use, a bit, a binary digit, can occupy only two states, 1 or 0. But in quantum computers, a qubit, as it is called, can occupy 16, 32, 64 states. What that means is the speed of computing of quantum computers will be several multiples of current type of computers. So we will be able to handle many, many, many complex problems. It would help us solve complex problems where there are thousands of variables in a jiffy. So quantum computing is something, it will come into play in about probably 20, 25 years. We're all looking forward to that. The third technology that I am quite excited is Internet of Things. What is Internet of Things? Internet of Things is the use of sensors, A to D converters, D to A converters, digital inputs and digital outputs, working in tandem with a computer so that they operate in sync with the real-time process that this computer is controlling. It could be a steel furnace, because in a steel furnace, if the temperature goes to 15, 25 degrees centigrade, then you have to add some slag, what we call slag. Otherwise, the temperature will go very high, 1570, 1580, and then steel will be spoiled. So the computer has to, first of all, sense the temperature using those sensors. Then it has to compute how much of slag, how much of the coolant, the scrap metals it has to add. It has to compute that and then actually add it. In other words, the computer has to act in real time along with the process. Now, another classical example is driverless cars. In a driverless car, if the car sees somebody in its way, it has to sense that. Those sensors will have to send data to the computer in the car. That has to run a certain spatial model and then has to instruct the car to turn right or left or stop, whatever it is. All of this will have to happen in real time. All of this happens through what is called IoT. Today, I think all of you have used smart TVs, smart refrigerators, many, many smart devices. But as we move forward in the next 5, 10 years, every house will be full of smart devices. I can sit in my office and then instruct that I want to prepare, I want to eat this dish, and the system will automatically pull out a menu, to pull out an ingredient stuff. It says it has to have this much of A, this much of B, this much of C. It will take it out of the various shelves, which all of which have sensors. Some it will take out of refrigerator and put it all in and cook it, and it will be ready when you go home. Similarly, already all of you must have seen, sitting in your office, you will be able to see how well your child is doing in the baby care. I mean, we had provided this facility to our employees probably 15 years ago. We developed an internet strip and we connected it to IIS sensors and all of that. And mothers who are working in the office, they could connect to the baby care and find out that their children are all fine. So IoT is the second one that I'm the third one that I'm very, very excited. Then there is, I talked about quantum computing, I talked about IoT, I talked about digital commerce. Then there is the issue of genomics. Genomics, thanks to computers, you will see tremendous advances. As I said, even before the baby is born, when the baby is in the womb, they will be able to say that this baby is likely to have this disease at this, when the child is this many years old, and these are the ways of stopping that. Genomics will see tremendous. So I think there are many, many sides. Of course, just now we spoke about metaverse. Metaverse bringing the power of gaming, AI, machine learning, cloud computing, 5G, hologram, avatars, and software avatars and all of that will improve your productivity tremendously. As I pointed out earlier, Michael can decide, this is my highest priority, so I will attend that meeting. But other meetings, I want my avatar to attend. They will all see a Michael sitting. I don't know how many of you saw President Zelensky of Ukraine. His hologram actually, we all saw that hologram, right? And it looked like it was Zelensky. You wouldn't make out it was not Zelensky, right? So Michael can then say, I will defy the law of nature and I'll be present at 4 conferences. So I think metaverse will definitely sing, and people will invent more and more and more games, video conferencing systems will improve tremendously. So I think the focus of all of these will be on improving the comfort of individuals, on improving the productivity of individuals, on improving the ability of individuals to do multiple things, to help people live long, healthily. That is very important, because if I can't live healthily, I don't want to live long. So all these things will happen. in the next probably 20, 25 years. I will not be there, but they will happen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy, for taking us on a journey to the future, for peeping at how the future world would be like. Now, I'm conscious of time because in about 10 minutes, we have two Indonesian ministers who will be joining us online. I may just ask one last question to Mr. Murthy, which is not connected with technology, not connected with Infosys, and that's going back to your reputation as an advocate and champion of business integrity and ethical leadership. I think you have been known for upholding business integrity and leadership for many, many, many years. What do you see as the key challenges facing business leaders now in terms of dealing with ethical decisions, in terms of upholding integrity, and perhaps what are some of your lessons in integrity and ethical leadership that you can impart to our younger emerging cohort of business leaders? There are a lot of young people here. I think they can learn a bit from you.
You know, this is a very tough question to answer. However, I'll try my best. The biggest cause of misery, according to Buddha, Lord Buddha, is desire. He said in my mother tongue, Asaye dukkha ke karana. That means desire is the root cause of sorrow. But of course, you know, he was there 2,550 years ago or something. That was a different word. But today we can translate that to greed is the root cause of all sorrow. Greed, jealousy, and anger. These are the three fundamental emotions of an individual that invariably leads to that person's downfall. I may have reasonable wealth, but I'll say, no, man, that Jeff Bezos fellow has got 200 billion. What is my thing? I can be unhappy. And Jeff Bezos will say, man, till last week I was the richest man. Now that Elon Musk has taken over from me, I'm very unhappy. So in other words, there is an end to your need, but there is no end to greed. Second, jealousy. Jealousy is what burns me inside because I am all the time comparing myself with Michael. Oh, Michael is so handsome. Michael is so rich. Michael is respected everywhere. Why am I not like that? But that will not do anything to Michael. Michael will continue to progress. I will be the one who will suffer. And that also leads to anger. I will show anger with Michael for no fault of his. No, is there a solution to all of this? The solution to this was thought of probably 3,000 years ago by the Hindus who said, contentment is the solution to happiness. But contentment has a negative connotation. In other words, If I am contented, I won't take any step towards progress. So contentment works both ways. So in some way, I think that's why India got left behind. While they tried to be contented, they didn't make a lot of effort to make progress. Now, coming to the corporate thing, what is the best way for people to be happy? And that is to seek respect from the society. I have found in India and elsewhere in the world, if you seek respect from other people, conduct yourself so that you get respect, the happiness you get is much more than if you have the latest car, the latest yacht, the latest plane. It doesn't matter. None of those things give you as much happiness as respect. So therefore, I would say that the principle that a corporation should adopt, like we did when we founded Infosys in 1981. I got my younger colleagues in my one-bedroom apartment in Mumbai in May 1981. And I asked them, what do you want? One fellow said, I want my company to be to have the biggest revenue. Second fellow said, no, I want my company to have the biggest profit. Third fellow said, I want my company to have the biggest office space. So finally, when it came to me, I said, I want my company to be the most respected company. Then I said, I want respect from the society. Why did I say I want respect from the society? Because society contributes customers, society contributes employees, society contributes investors, society contributes vendor partners, society contributes bureaucrats, and society contributes politicians. Therefore, in every decision that the board takes, in every decision that the management takes, if we were to say, will this decision enhance respect for me in the eyes of the society, then I would automatically be doing right by the society, and I will get more and more respect. If I get respect from customers, my revenue will increase. I will have more and more revenue because they will trust me more. If I get respect from the society, more and more good employees will join me. Therefore, I will be able to bring more and more innovations to my company. If society is happy with me, society which contributes investors, those investors will invest in me more and more. They will buy my shares. If society respects me, those vendor partners will come to my aid when I have problems. If the society contributes, the society contributes bureaucrats and politicians, and if I earn the respect of the society, let me assure you that your politicians and your bureaucrats will simply say, here is a good company. Let us see how this company can grow. Certainly they will do what is good. So my own personal feeling is that in every decision that you take, please look for respect from the society. Ask if that decision will enhance respect for you and your company from the society. Sorry, I took a little bit of extra time, but this is a very important thing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy. Thank you so much for sharing your personal philosophy, your wisdom, your knowledge, your insights and experience with us here this morning. We need to bring this session to a close because our two Indonesian ministers are waiting and online. We have another exciting session with one of Indonesia's most exciting dynamic ministers, His Excellency Sandiaga Uno, the Minister for Creative Economy, who was a very successful entrepreneur and businessman before being appointed as a minister. Tan Sri Wahid will be chairing this session. But before we end, let me once again express our appreciation to Mr. Narayana Murthy. And we do hope that you will in the future, very near future, be the father-in-law, the first Indian Prime Minister of United Kingdom. And do wish your son-in-law, Chancellor Rishi Sunak, all the very best in the years ahead. Thank you.